verse 748. The Alaya, with the Garbha, which is the womb, is declared by the philosophers to be the seat of thought in union with the ego. But this is not the doctrine approved by the Buddhas. So we've got some wonderful terms here. As enlightenment practitioners, we come back to our own essential awareness. In practice, this means attending to the attention. We observe the attention in action. And then we shift from what the attention is attending to this observation, this observing of the attention. And this is pure awareness when this is achieved. On our spiritual quest, we tend to be looking for something spectacular, something that's going to trigger some sort of peak experience. But peak experiences are simply that. They're peak experiences. You cannot live in a peak experience. What peak experiences are very, very rarefied and fine, good moods. Liberation is about realizing the nature of consciousness. And consciousness is happening right now. And this can be a little bit disappointing if you're looking for something exotic, something that will knock your socks off. We want something which is different from the everyday. And consciousness is what is happening right now if you're actually hearing these words. And whatever else is going on, this is consciousness in operation. Which might seem a bit disappointing, but we fail to appreciate the nature of this consciousness. And part of the job of these videos is to help in this appreciation. I've described it in the past in many ways. One video is called The Great Miracle, and I'm referring to this consciousness. I've described it as the holder of universes. That's another video. That is the nature of this consciousness. And in this verse, we have other descriptions: the Alaya, the Garbha, and the ego. These are all different aspects of consciousness. The Alaya is consciousness. It is pure consciousness. Now, when I talk about pure consciousness, we have to be careful when we talk about purity. For some people it implies there is a process of purification which needs to be undertaken. No, not at all. Consciousness is pure. Consciousness is pure already. We just don't appreciate it. The impurity lies in our lack of appreciation. The impurity lies in the lack of realization of the nature of this very ordinary consciousness. So the Alaya is consciousness. But what does consciousness want to do? Consciousness wants to project itself outwards. It creates space. Within that space that is created, it projects itself. This is what consciousness does. We can see this in our dreams. We can see this in the phenomenon of dreams. I've mentioned before, it doesn't really make sense to talk about our dreams. It's doing exactly the same in the waking state, creating space and projecting itself outwards. This is what's meant by the Alaya. When we talk about the Chitta, we're talking about consciousness as something that can be realized, as something still. But it's the nature of consciousness to project itself out into space. And this is the Alaya. And in the same way, the Garbha, the womb of the Tathagata. Tathagata is the one who dwells in suchness. This is the awareness that is aware of everything that's projected outwards. It's the womb of the Tathagata. This womb gives birth to the universe, or universes. So again, here in the Tathagata Garbha, we are appreciating this awareness which underpins everything. This awareness, the awareness which is hearing this, is the essential Buddha nature. And how wonderful is that? It can help to imagine a meditating Buddha, a meditating golden Buddha at the heart of your being, emanating love and compassion. It's the source of wisdom. So this is the essence of this awareness, this everyday awareness. So what have we got here? There seems to be a problem with the philosophers who are saying that the Alaya is the seat of thought in union with the ego. Now the ego was mentioned a couple of verses back, the Atma. And, you know, if you're a Buddhist, red flags go up at this. But it's another word for describing this sense of being that we can come back to. If you're an enlightenment practitioner and you're practicing right now, then you're here. You're here in suchness. This is Atma. It's nothing to do with a personal individual. It's just another word. We don't give it any more thought. We just practice it. But we're told that this is where thought is. And clearly there's no thought here. Thought belongs with the world of the senses. So why should the philosophers be saying this? Because there's a very fascinating contemplation we can undertake here. There's one that an author called Robert Pirsig undertook in a rather wonderful book called Zen in the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. In this book, Robert Pirsig was concerned with where answers come from, where hypotheses come from, where theories come from. And he found the answer. He found the answer. But never mind Robert Pirsig if you haven't read the book. And if you haven't read it, I'd recommend it. But look to your own experience. If you've misplaced something and you're trying to remember where you put it, what do you do? What do you do? You might retrace your steps, thinking about where the last place was that you put it. But at some point in this process, you have to be still. You have to be still and wait for the answer to come. And most of the day we are having to solve problems. But we can make it a more specific thing, more obvious problem solving task, like if you're doing a Sudoku puzzle. And I suspect this is part of the appeal of such things, because when you look at it, you apply various rules of logic, then at some point there has to be some stillness for the answer to pop out. The mind can do its stuff, lay the way, but then it has to shut up, and we have to wait for the answer to come out. So what's your experience of this? This is something to look at, isn't it? Something to contemplate. Because we use the mind to help solve problems, but the mind doesn't actually solve the problems. The mind actually has to shut up at some point, and then the answer will appear. So it's quite an incredible phenomenon, isn't it? So I suspect this is what the philosophers are getting at. They're saying that the Garbha is the seat of thought. They're saying that the Alaya is the seat of thought in union with the ego, as if the ego is some personal entity which is in receipt of the omniscience of the Alaya. So I think what's happening here is we have to be careful. It's almost beginning to suspiciously sound like prayer, about the individual praying to an almighty source and being benefited by this prayer. So we need to be careful. This isn't what's happening. There is no individual. The omniscient source is of the same nature as our everyday awareness. And thoughts, the thinking mind, has no connection with it. It can only interact with it by being still. Thought is very much part of the sensory world. And thinking in the sensory world is what keeps consciousness from remembering itself. So here now, in the everyday process of problem solving, we have an opportunity to contemplate and to remember the nature of the Alaya, and in doing so abide once more in the stillness of the Chitta, in appreciation of the true nature of this awareness that's hearing this. We actually turn to it more often than we think.